We'll take 3 deep breaths, 1 breath with each ring of the bell. Let's go ahead. And as the bell fades, let yourself breathe normally. As we fade with the bell and step into mindfulness, turn your attention on your breath. As you relax your body, rest your feet on the floor, your hands in your lap. Your spine fairly straight. I just read someone though who said you don't really need to worry that much about posture. When you're paying attention and really curious about something, you naturally tend to straighten your spine, bring your head up. So do that if you can. Tuck your chin in slightly. Let your teeth gently close and hold your eyes halfway open or closed if you'd prefer. And just follow the rhythm of your breath. Your belly rising as you breathe in, falling as you breathe out. Just watching that breath in and out. In as the belly rises and out as the belly falls. Before we began this today, we were talking about a number of things. Astrological signs, what we are taught to be from being in a small town, in a town in Minnesota. We've been taught Minnesota nice our whole lives. And then something that ties into that perhaps is something called the Law of Jante. Comes from out of a novel, and in Scandinavian countries, they've delineated it as 10 rules that basically come down to you are not to think you're anyone special or that you're any better than us. And I think at root, all those have the same question. Who am I? Or what am I? Or how am I? Am I this breath? And following your belly as it rises. And as you breathe out and it falls, you can just examine that with some curiosity. Are we the breath? Certainly, when this body is not living anymore, the breath ceases. But the body continues to breathe for a long time. Have you ever seen someone with pneumonia fighting to stay alive when they're barely conscious? That body has that impulse to breathe. Is that who I am? Or is that just instinct? As we grow up, I think we're trying to figure out what a self is, what is me, what is other people when we're very young. And in our teenage years, we start wondering, what is this self? Who am I? What do I like? What do I want to be in the world? And just stay with the breath as we're going through this, breathing in as your belly rises, and breathing out as your belly falls. Now, it's popular belief that people grow more conservative as they get older. That may be the case politically. Well, I know plenty of still pretty wild liberal hippie old people. I would say we go a little bit more conservative about this self. We're pretty convinced we know who we are. And there are all those systems we can go by. What's our political belief? What is our family history? What country did our forebears come from? What was our experience as we were younger and growing up? Often we're dealing with that under that law of Jante, that you are not to think you're anyone special. And some people will tell us each individual person is special. I heard someone, I remember they brought him to speak to us in high school, so it sticks with me. He talked about everyone starts each day out with a brand new badge on their shirt that says, I am loving and capable. And as we go through the day, people tear bits of that off. We tear bits of it off until by the end of the day, there's nothing there. And if we believe in that, if we've been taught we are not to think we're special, then the last thing we would want to admit is that we are anything special. We get accused of being selfish. We can all remember that as being the most horrible thing you could be sometimes if you didn't share a cookie with your sibling or didn't play well in kindergarten. That was quite a curse to be told you were selfish. For many of us, it's normal to be selfish. We've created this self. We feel we need to protect it. Now, perhaps the reason we have to protect it is because it's not as true as we think it is. Not only that it's not strong, but what if it's not there? When you're quiet like this and watching your breath, you can ask yourself those questions. Am I the breath? Am I this body? Am I these thoughts going on incessantly like the breath? My beliefs that I'm a good person or a bad person? Or are we just this impulse that's continually analyzing? I was thinking this week, most of us don't need to work too hard at being mindful, because in a way we're already being aware every moment. And the Buddhists say we're analyzing every moment to see, does this thought feel good or bad right now? Is this bite of food I'm taking good or bad? Or even, am I bored? Not feeling excited is lumped in with not liking something. So boredom is something negative in our eyes. And are we those likes and dislikes? Sometimes we talk as though they are. Well, I'm a cat person. I'm a dog person. What if those aren't who we are either? Those are just the workings of that mind, constantly analyzing, deciding what's good and should be tried to be hung on to, what's bad and should be pushed away. And the truth is, all those experiences are temporary. Hanging on to anything is useless. Pushing it away is unnecessary. It will eventually dissolve by itself, like this breath does. Perhaps like this self will. Another belief many of us hold is that we'll live after this life in heaven, in another form, in another body. That can be a comforting belief, but the truth is we just don't know. And perhaps that instinct to breathe, that instinct to keep the body alive, those thoughts that keep analyzing every moment what we're going through, whether it's good or bad, that really is the self. And when those stop, there's not much of anything that continues. Just circumstances and fortune have brought this together, this being we are, this body that we carry around. And even saying it's something we carry around implies there's someone carrying it, or a driver inside of it, or a rider on a horse directing it. And I'm not saying it's necessary to believe what I'm saying, that there is perhaps no self. When we pause to be still and listen, when we question and look at this with curiosity, who am I? What am I? What are my thoughts? It can be so frightening. It's frightening to that self that maybe it doesn't exist. But then you think of those moments, maybe even just in mindfulness, where for a time your thoughts grow quieter. You're not analyzing whether it's feeling good or bad to sit. You're just breathing in as your belly rises and out as your belly falls. And if that happens, or if it just happens when you're involved in something out in the world, and we have that phrase, I forget myself, when I'm walking through the woods, when I'm painting. And what does that feel like? Most people would say it feels like a kind of freedom and joy. So here we go, day by day, keeping this self alive, believing all these things add up to ourself, trying to protect it, feeling that's who we are. There's an immense amount of fear, and one could say suffering behind that. Because again, those things we want to keep won't last. And those things we want to push away won't last, but may arise and come back again. So just trying to live by constantly getting what we like and prefer is just a recipe for being dissatisfied and disappointed. Those moments when you're lost in a walk through the woods, playing with your grandson. Just notice that. One thing you may notice is if you think, I'm not thinking about myself, you lose it pretty quickly. And if you just be with it and enjoy that, you may find that immense freedom and joy that comes from it. Not having to work so hard at maintaining that self, that image that we present to others and to ourselves. Like so many other things, like the itch on our shoulder, like the pain in our knee, like the thoughts in our mind. We can hold all of those things more lightly. Our beliefs, our preferences. They're just something that comes and goes like the breath. They're not who we are either. It keeps bringing you back to that question, who or what am I? I think it's something one could spend a lifetime investigating. Again, there may be times for a moment or for longer where we can see that point of just being part of it all, not feeling separate from everyone else and from this world. And other times we're caught up in our worries, our thoughts, our fears, our wants. Just try and ask the questions. Sometimes let your mind be still. Stop and watch your breath, or just give your full attention and presence to whatever is happening around you and see what you find. I was going to say you might surprise yourself, but perhaps you may just be surprised. There's no self to surprise. Ring the bell, and we'll end this with three deep breaths again.